Welcome to the Tearing It Up podcast. I'm your host, Taryn. We'll be tearing it up, tearing it down, and tearing it apart, dissecting all things related to those who deviate from the standard. From leaders of their industry to leaders of mediocrity, and maybe a gear review or two thrown in. We shoot the shit and let the conversations flow, so if that's not your style, this may not be for you. Otherwise, listen in. Hope to light a fire in you somehow. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tearing It Up. This week, we have, I honestly think it is maybe our first re-recording, and I think that's actually a really good thing and shows major progress and leaps and bounds in this little production because we are really making sure we're putting out quality content, wanting our conversations to be meaningful and valuable from all sides. So I'm really excited to get to talk to Kelli of NoSo Patches again. We met too in the interim, we had our first conversation, and then we got to meet briefly at GOA Connect in Reno. So I think it's even better this time because now we've been able to meet in person and chat, and it just brings that whole different kind of energetic connection when you've met someone in person. So I'm really excited to get to talk to Kelli and share this conversation with you guys. I know I've talked about NoSo before on the podcast. We did a little event with Alpinistas in Reno with them, like a DIY repair night. So we had NoSo featured there. Then I also did a Tips and Titty Bits episode talking about some great brands that you all need to know about, and talked about NoSo there because they've also done some amazing collabs, especially with Dovetail, which we'll dive all into that stuff. But if you guys haven't heard of NoSo, you haven't listened to those episodes or weren't a part of those events, you'll hear it all from Kelli. And with that, I'm going to introduce you guys to Kelli, and I'm going to start off with asking you where in the world you are as we record today.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Taryn, for inviting me on your podcast. This is awesome. I'm in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Even the name of our town has a hole in it. And we're recording from my house because my internet reception in town is a little bit slowed based on all the tourism that we get in the summertime. So I'm sitting in my home office with all my art around me. So I've got a lot of art behind me on my gallery wall.
I love it. I am at my boyfriend's parents' house in town for similar reasons.
Yeah, it's tricky in a mountain town. You often forget. I mean, we just got fiber 3 years ago, maybe 2. We get 3 to 5 million visitors in the summertime in Jackson that are visiting Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone National Park. So yeah, everyone that's on the cell phone towers kind of takes up our bandwidth. I got to be mindful of that in the summertime.
Yeah, absolutely. That brings up an interesting point to me. I'm wondering how you got to Jackson in the first place. How long have you been there?
I've been in Jackson for 25 years, and I was a lifeguard in Ocean City, Maryland in my early 20s. And I was dating this guy on the beach patrol, and he's like, I'm going out to Jackson this winter. And I was like, oh, where's that? And he's like, it's in Wyoming. And I said, okay, great. I want to go. And he's like, you'll love it, because he had already been here before. But we bought a couple of 10 speeds, some road bikes, and we biked across the country from Ocean City, Maryland to Gillette, Wyoming. And I only had about $27 left in my pocket, and I had to hitchhike to Jackson. This is a long, long time ago, but I rode a 520 truck all the way across the country the wrong way. I had the the wind was not at my back ever, but I got to see beautiful parts of the country, and yeah, so it was wild. But yeah, I moved here in 2001, so it was a long time ago. But
We talk so much about bikes on this podcast. So I love that, it came back to that, and that's how you got to Jackson and had to hitchhike in. And, what a whole different world for sure. 25 years ago, it's 2001, when I think about it, doesn't feel like that long ago because, I graduated high school in 2006. And it just feels like, oh, that a few years ago, whatever. I'm like, well, coming up on 20 years there.
I know time is funny, isn't it? You're like, whoa, time, hello. Yeah, it flies.
Yeah, and now at this point, that's been, I'm assuming, where you've been, like, the longest in your life is in Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, I will never say I'm from Jackson, I'm from Ohio.
Mhm.
I grew up in Boardman, Ohio, which is a suburb of Youngstown, and, yeah, I'm an Ohio girl through and through. We're really kind, we like to make casseroles and cookies and have potlucks and, uh which not to say that Jackson isn't like this like, the people are beautiful here as well. It's just there's something about Ohio people that
I
there's a lot of people from Ohio in Jackson, and so when we meet each other, we're like, "What? You're from Ohio?" "Yes." And anyway, if I ever get an applicant when we're hiring, if they say they're from Ohio, I always interview them because 'cause I'm like, "Ooh, an Ohio person."
Yeah, you just at
They're
least
gonna
have to
be a
talk
good
to
one.
him. Yeah,
I just have
totally.
to talk to them, yes.
I love that, and I think it's great. It doesn't have to be that you're, like, bashing anyone who's from Wyoming or anything like that, or
No.
don't think those are good people, but I think it's great if you want to hold on to your roots and you don't want to really, like, claim anything else. You're proud of where you're from and how it, like, maybe formed you and things like that. I love being from the Northwest, and you love being from Ohio, so I think it's great to be proud of it.
Yeah, totally. No, and I love Wyoming too. It's just yeah, I'll always be a Buckeye through and through.
Love it. I love it. So I'm curious too now how you got from Ohio to Maryland. Where were you going to college up that way? Or what was your trajectory getting out of Ohio? And did that lead you into the outdoor industry? Or were you always into the outdoors and whatnot, even as a kid or growing up in Ohio?
I was a swimmer. My family, we lived in kind of like a suburbia, and there was like all these swim clubs. And I was a Division I college athlete, and I got a scholarship to go to the University of Toledo. I'm a breaststroker. So, yeah, I swam in college and it was just like one of those summer jobs. Like I started lifeguarding when I was in high school. My first job was at Yellow Duck Park, which is just this little pond with like rope swings and everything. But yeah, I think it was just a natural progression after lifeguarding at pools. I thought, ooh, I want to learn about rip currents and I want to learn about ocean safety. And so I tried out for the Ocean City Beach Patrol in Annapolis, Maryland. And yeah, I made it. So I got to learn a lot about different ocean currents. And I know semaphore, that's one of my hidden talents. I can speak in flags. So on the Ocean City Beach Patrol, there's 142 lifeguard stands, I think. At least that's how many there were when I was there. I was on crew 4, which is 5 lifeguard stands between, I think it's like 10th Street and 14th Street. I lifeguarded a rip current called Devil's Alley. It was a real strong one, and I was a really fast swimmer, so I saved a bunch of people. Yeah, I was always playing outside, and I loved being active. My mom calls me her adventurous one. From swimming, like and being on the beach and outside in the sunshine all the time. I started running and biking and all the things.
That's so cool, being an ocean lifeguard and just a whole different world from going from pools to ocean. Like, did you have a lot of experience swimming or, like, playing in the ocean a lot as a child, or was everything brand new to you when you went to go be a lifeguard?
It was all brand new. I didn't know much about swimming in the ocean, but in college, we trained down in Fort Lauderdale at the Swimming Hall of Fame. The swimming was at the pool, but sometimes we would do open swims. And that's kind of where I learned how, you have to swim differently. You have to like pick your head up out of the water and look ahead. Whereas in the pool, you're looking down at the line in the middle of the pool to stay on your side of the lane. So oceans, like open water swimming, ocean, lake, whatever, is a little bit different. You're looking for a big old buoy, like in the middle of the ocean or in the middle of a lake. I love learning. And so I think when you are a lifeguard in pools for 4 or 5 years, because that's what I did for my summer jobs, I was like, this is getting a little boring because all you did was blow your whistle and be like, slow down. No running, no running. And so on the beach, you learned about neck back injuries, how to splint an arm, like if someone broke their arm skimboarding, or like there's a trough, like on the East Coast, they have these troughs where people sometimes don't understand the water. It's like you can walk out and then it dips down to 10 feet and then it comes back up and there's a sandbar. And so, yeah, you want to know your water when you dive into it. And then you get on top of the sandbar and then you go back out to the ocean, right? So it
Mm.
has this like little horseshoe effect, the sand does, because there's really intense shore break on the East Coast. So yeah, no, I was curious and I wanted to learn more about swimming in the ocean. And it just was, I don't know, just the next step, I think, when I was younger to go on the beach patrol. I was like, oh, let's try this.
You saying that you love learning and whatnot, like, speaks to, I think, well, your whole trajectory in life and what you started with NoSo and doing something just brand new that you didn't know about because, well, it also didn't exist before you, right? So it was definitely a whole cycle of learning and things, and I love that your mom called you, like, the adventurous one too, and, like, yeah, just going out, wanting to try something new, I can resonate with that so much. It's like, it's just I learn better kinetically, right? Doing the thing. If I'm interested in something, I wanted to go do it myself and see how it really is and feels. And as we get older, right, I feel like I don't know why, just societally or if it's personality or what happens, but it feels like most of us like kind of stop learning or stop seeking out like the opportunities to learn. And like I said, maybe that is because of society telling us at a certain age we should be at a certain point, right? You should already know what you're doing or be on this track. So, like, why do you need to learn more or something? Well, there's probably a million different reasons we stop learning, but I love talking with people who have the curiosity that you have because I think we all really need to keep that up. And it's something I'm trying to work on is like doing new things again. And I think also it's like, being a beginner or whatnot as you're older is just hard. You don't wanna go backwards sometimes in life and feel like, "Oh, I'm new at this." You feel comfortable in all these other things, but I think it brings back those kinda childlike feelings and stuff too. So I am, yeah, definitely working on trying some new things and that can be in many different ways, just taking risks in general, just going for the thing. But I'm wondering now too is when you get to Jackson via bicycle and hitchhiking. What are your initial thoughts here? I'm sure 25 years ago was very different than it is today, but at that time, was it very different from what you were used to or what you grew up with?
I think so. I mean, yeah, my first, I think, couple weeks here, I met a lot of different eccentric people and I loved it. Like, and there was a lot of women back then that were just wild. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be my home. Because they spoke their mind and they had little bike clubs or hiking clubs and they just kind of rallied together. And I think in my life, always been called like hyper masculine because I am really good at sports. I'm really good at sports. I mean, I'm a swimmer, right? So I would beat all the boys because I was really fast. But I don't know, having females that were all the same, you're like, wow, we're all badass. This is super sick. I'm going to stay here. But one of my girlfriends who I still work with to this day, she sold me her dirt bike. And this is years ago. Her name's Adie Maddox, and she lives up in Livingston now. But she was one of my first friends in Jackson. And this is a quintessential old Jackson story. She's walking down Pearl Street with a toucan on her shoulder. And I was like, huh, this chick has a bird on her shoulder and she's going to go pick up her mail. And that was old Jackson because there's not that much traffic. And this lady's just walking down the street. And I'm like, oh, she's going to be my friend for sure. Um, and yeah, we've been friends for 20 plus years, and now she's one of my art fix artists. She paints trouts and trout skins and different animals, big murals, oil painting. But yeah, I don't know. I think, moving to Jackson, there's just like this freedom and this sense of exploration. I loved being outside. I loved hiking. I couldn't afford rent on my own way back when. I mean, it was always a hard place to live because there weren't that many great jobs. So I lived in a trailer on Millward and Simpson with 6 other people and 6 dogs or something, like we were all like, there was like a big wraparound horseshoe couch and there was 3 of us sleeping on it. And then the dogs would always like wake up and go pee in the middle of the night. But it was just old Jackson, just crazy mayhem. But we were all just happy and just happy to be together and happy to like cook food together and go on adventures together. And eventually I was able to scrounge up some money to buy a yurt out in Kelli, Wyoming, which is about 30 miles north of Jackson. And so I lived in a yurt in the yurt park. Yeah, it was kind of like affordable living way back when. I didn't have running water or a toilet. There was a communal bathhouse that you could go take a shower at. Everyone had a piss pots or whatever.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, you're like, I gotta go pee, and then you just like, yeah, take it to the bathroom in the morning. But yeah, I was pretty much a hippie at heart, trying to make ends meet and being as resourceful as I could. And I asked my dad, I was like, hey, can you help me out with the down payment on this yurt? And he's like, absolutely not. You're not living in a glorified tent. And I was like, well, I'm staying here because I love the mountains. And I went to the bank. I'll never forget this guy. His name's Jim Ryan here. And he was the president of Jackson State Bank. And he gave me this signature loan for 8%. It was like the most terrible rate. But anyway, I got this loan for my yurt and I paid it off over time. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, there's lot of good stories.
Absolutely. Is that yurt, compound or whatever you might call it still around?
It is still around. There's 13 grandfather yurts in Teton County. So they're all on like a land lease. So you pay the family that owns the land and you just own the structure on top. So at any time, the family can sell the land, but they haven't for so many years. I really want someone to write a book about the yurt park because there's a lot of characters out there and a lot of history that's not been told. And I think it's really important and it's a really important part of Jackson. Because it's like a beautiful little communal living situation out there, of like-minded people.
That doesn't exist in very many places anymore, that's for sure.
Totally. No, but it's a really special spot. I mean, you open up your yurt door and you look out to the Tetons every morning. It's just like magnificent. Yeah, it's pretty special.
Wow, that it sounds amazing. I haven't actually been to Jackson, so I don't know how. I haven't gotten there yet. Every winter for the last few years, it's been like a goal to get out there and go sledding because I think we have a mutual friend, Tana of Illa Adventures.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I really want to get out and sled with her. And yeah, it hasn't happened for winter. I mean, I'd still love to go out there in the summer too, but winter has the biggest draw on me, at least right now. But all these places are beautiful year round, and it's about just
Please
finding the
come out.
time to
No.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, please, you have a place to stay for sure. And I've been dirt biking with Tana a few times this summer already. So yeah, she's
Oh,
awesome.
cool.
No, she's part of my dirt bike posse, so, yeah,
I love it. I love it. See, and this is what I love about the podcast, and doing what we're doing here with it is talking to amazing women and then just the network that it is. Because similar to what you said about arriving in Jackson and finding these women who were just wild and like did these things together where previously where you were or from, like, maybe felt like a little bit of an anomaly. Like, okay, well, yeah, I'm the tomboy, whatever, I'm rough and
yeah,
tumbly, do this, do that, play all the sports. And yeah, I always felt like, cool, yeah, I can fit in over here, but I want to be a little more over here. And so, yeah, just knowing that others like you exist. And when you find that, I think it's like super, super special. But it's amazing that you found that community, stayed there, and then still have it and are building it. And like I said, just being able to talk and connect with all these amazing women like yourself and Tana, and then to learn that you guys are connected and doing all these awesome things. I'm like, yes, like it exists out there in real life.
totally. I know it's fun, like, you think about when I was younger, I played soccer and I played volleyball and I swam and I ran hurdles, I ran track, and I was the mascot for my high school. I like to be the center of all the action. But, yeah, I think when, like, you move to a place like Jackson, the community, like, it's just like this heart-centered, community-driven place that, yes, Ohio was similar, but because we only had, back then, 8,000 people, you really were able to connect with people on a level that just isn't possible in a city or a suburb, and that's what I loved about Jackson in the beginning. You're like, "Oh, wow, I get to meet this person and this person and this person." And it's easier to build community when you live in a small town because you
Uh-huh.
just like see people all the time, right at the grocery store or on the trail or, on the lake or wherever you are.
Yeah, and these days I think just a lot harder in general too because we don't have as much human connection because we have like look, we're doing this virtually, which is still very awesome. Super stoked that we get to do it this way. We wouldn't be able to otherwise, or even just meeting people through the internet and through social media and connections like that. It's all amazing, but it is hard to make the space or find the room to connect with people in a way that we used to, especially if you're not in a small town. And a lot of these small or what once were smaller towns are a lot bigger now too. So, it's just hard to find the human connections in the way that we used to. So, when you were moving on from the yurt, like what was the next step there? Did you sell the yurt? Did you have a different job? Were you on like a career direct trajectory, or where did life after the yurt take you?
Oh, well, I mean, in Jackson, you can be anyone you want to be as long as you show up. That's what I always tell my staff now. But when I first moved to town, I had a lot of different jobs. I was a nurse assistant at the hospital here, St. John's. I sliced bread at this little organic grocery store called Harvest Organic Bakery. And that's really how I met everybody in town because everybody came in to get this fresh bread, and I would just slice it with this old fashioned bread slicer. And then I also did nanny work. So I was a nanny and I worked for a lot of different high profile individuals with kiddos here in the valley. And yeah, so I think what happened, why I had to leave the yurt was I was nannying for a family on the West Bank, which is out in Wilson, Wyoming. So Kelly to Wilson is pretty far in the wintertime because Kelly gets a lot more snow than Town or Wilson does. Kelly gets a lot of wind drifting, and sometimes the snow plows don't get out there early enough. I had to be at work at 7 a.m. on the West Bank, so I had to wake up at 5 in the morning to get to my job as a nanny, and that just wasn't working anymore. So I moved from Kelly into town, and there's a climber guy in town. His name's Andy Carsons, and he had all these spots on Willow and Pearl. One of them was called the Hooch, and that's where I lived. And there was the Rat Box, the Tin Shed, the Skate House. So he essentially was the first like affordable housing guy in the valley, I think, because he would let you rent his places, and they were not the greatest. Most of them, well, the place I lived didn't have central heating. It had a wood stove, and it made my mom cry when she visited. She's like, life doesn't have to be this bad because she had never seen anyone chopping wood like that and stoking the fire. So all day, every day, all night. But yeah, he had a bunch of places that you could rent for 100, $200 a month. And that is one of the reasons why I'm still in the valley, because it was really affordable to stay here because of Andy. I mean, because I worked on the West Bank, I had to come into town, and the commute from Jackson to Wilson is only 15 minutes to 20 minutes in the wintertime. So it was a lot easier.
How far are you from that spot with Andy now?
Now I live down in Rafter J, which is like 3 miles south of town, which is a little subdivision. It's called the Banana Belt. It's always sunny in Rafter J. It's our tagline. The sun sets in the middle where the Glory Bowl is. So like we have the best gardens and sunsets because if you live on the West Bank, you get this shadow of the Tetons. So the sun sets a lot earlier on the West
Oh,
Bank. So it's nice to live south. So I'm a Southie. I live south of town.
that's amazing and so cool that you've gotten to see so many different parts and live in so many different parts of the like a small little radius in there and experience it all. And now you have your own thriving business there too. So how and where did NoSo even start? Like what gave you the idea that you want to create these fun little patches for your gear?
So I just, in Jackson, everybody repairs their gear and clothing with tape. So duct tape, electrical tape, scotch tape, any type of tape you can think of. People were putting it on their gear. And I had a lot of tape on my gear as well, but I started to like not like the way it looked. I was
Mhm.
like, there has to be a cuter way. Why isn't there like a cute little heart or a star or. So I thought that if I just got some fabric and, formulated some adhesive and I put the two together, we could come up with something that was more fashion forward, I guess. I started to mess around with just adhesives and fabric in my garage. And I had this test jacket and would just test these different combos. And I found a good combination that stuck really well on synthetic gear. So nylon, polyester type stuff like sleeping bags, backpacks, puffy jackets. I had a tear in a Patagonia Fitzroy jacket was my favorite. It's still my favorite jacket, and I didn't want to put tape on it, so I started to cut nylon with my X-Acto knife into different shapes, hearts and stars and lightning bolts, butterflies, and I would go out to the Jackson Hole Mountain Resort tram line, and everybody wanted one, and so I cut these by hand in the beginning. Then I thought, "Huh, everybody wants one of these." So I launched NoSo on Indiegogo and Kickstarter in 2016. I had been messing around with the adhesives and fabric since 2013, 14, but I didn't launch the company until 3 years later, so it took me a while. I had a really awesome life. I mean, I was an accountant before that and a therapist before that. So I didn't have to start this business, but because there was a need and everybody in my town was using them, I thought, let's just see if we can launch this and yeah, go into production and make this a thing. 8 years later, here we are. We're in 1,500 doors, if not more. And it's a fun little company.
That's so cool. So it took like 3 years before it was really off the ground. Was it at 3 years where you left your other jobs and, like, went full time, or did it take a little bit longer before you were, like, full in yourself at NoSo?
Well, because I was doing accounting, like, I've done small business accounting and private family office accounting for, I don't know, 12, 15 years. When you're an accountant, you have deadlines, and that's all,
Mhm.
and if you're able to meet your deadline, you're good, and I never missed a deadline. I had 17 different clients, and I was doing payroll and all their data entry and sales forecast, financial reporting, anything that they needed to succeed. I was there to help them. So I was kind of like a junior CFO in some regards for some of these companies. But yeah, that's why I didn't launch NoSo because I was fine. I didn't really
Mhm.
have to. But I think, when I was getting so much feedback, people were wanting these, that's when I said, let's just launch this and see how it goes. So in 16 is when I launched. But I didn't stop doing accounting until 2022. So I was running
Wow.
2 businesses this entire time. And not a lot of people know this, but I self-funded NoSo. I used my accounting practice money to roll it into NoSo and invest in NoSo. I had 2 staff going at all times, so that was a lot, but I kept it together. I have a lot of good protocols and procedure, and accountants are easy because they're just like me. They're like, "Okay, we got a deadline. We got to meet this. We're done. We got to post payroll by this date. We're done." Creative side of entrepreneurship with NoSo was fascinating. I've learned so much about how to run a product company and what that entails. And so that was kind of fun, but I've had really great teams all along. So I was able to give a little bit of time to my accounting practice and a little bit of time to NoSo. And then eventually I thought I have to show my NoSo team that I'm 100% in.
Mhm.
And then I let go of all of my accounting clients. On February 22nd, 2022 is the day, so there's a
Ooh.
lot of twos in that. A lot of
I
twos there. But I let them know that I'd get them all through the tax season that year, and then I was just done. But in the meantime, so was growing year over year, 83%, if not more. Our biggest year of growth was 283%, and that is a lot.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah.
In terms of, I mean, I don't know, maybe if I don't know if you can even put it in nice terms, but, like, how many patches? Like, what does that mean? How many patches did you have to sell to grow 283%?
Well, I mean, it just depends on the year, but like we're shipping, between 500, 600,000 patches a year, right? That's a lot of
Wow,
patches.
that's a lot of patches.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever, you take the initial number and then just multiply that by 83%, and that's where we are today. Notice as a volume business, so you have to sell a lot of them to be in
Mhm.
business, which is kind of a different strategy. But yeah, it's a lot. We're
Yes.
patching a lot here. A lot of our, fixers, they cut our patches up, so I can't really tell you what our impact is because one patch could actually be cut down into 4 to 6. So,
Yeah.
how many times are people using this, material to patch things? I have no idea. Like, I
Yeah.
know how many units we sell monthly, annually, right? But I can't tell you how many textile. I mean, I can estimate how many yards of textile waste that we're saving from the landfill, but it could be multiplied by 4 or
Yeah.
6, depending on how many times people cut things up.
That's so cool. But also, like, aside from just using the patches to patch your gear, whether that's like tent, sleeping bag, puffy jacket, you also use, and I mean, I don't know, maybe I don't fully understand it, but like with Dovetail specifically, like they're dead stock, right? So you're
Mhm.
taking something else that someone couldn't use and turning that into a patch.
Yes. So I've never hired a marketing person, so we're actually hiring for marketing. No one really knows that we do this, but if you guys are a marketing and events person and you wanna work at NoSo, go check out our website because we're hiring. Because I'm a terrible storyteller. I'm just so into having fun with fabrics and adhesives. Um, yes, manufacturers can send us their dead stock fabric, or if they want to match fabric to a certain product line and coordinate the colors, we can convert fabric into patches that people can kit with their gear. So, what Dovetail did, which is a beautiful story, they had all this fabric that was just laying around and they're like, "Hey, can you do something with this?" And I was like, "100%, send it to me. Send me that fabric." And
Yeah.
then we laminated it and we put our adhesive on the back and then cut it down to whatever Kate and Sarah, like those are the founders of Dovetail, Kate and Sarah. They sent like this whole beautiful tech sheet on all the different shapes that they wanted to cut. So we cut a saw blade, a paintbrush, a couple of pockets, and a little dovetail out of some ripstop. Yeah, so we can convert manufacturers' fabric into patches that they can use in warranty and repair. They can use them in marketing. They can use them for a campaign that they have coming up that they want to use to talk about how they're a responsible company. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways that NoSo can be used. We have a custom printing program where we dye sublimate onto fabric, recycled polyester, that people can send us their artwork and specifications on how they want it cut, and we can cut to size.
That's so cool. I have inquired about that myself because I've done koozies and stickers, and that's the only like little merch thing. And as you listeners out there know, it's definitely been on the dream list to like get some tearing it up merch out into the world. And so NoSo is definitely on that list for something to do at some point because I mean, I love them. Yeah, I think that it's so cool and such a good idea. Well, so many reasons. Obviously, sustainability, number one, but it's expensive to replace gear for a tear, right? And why not make it something fun instead of like, yeah, duct tape, or there's some other repair tape out there that's just a solid color. But to your point of how companies can color match with you, like that's the thing. It's like you might get red, but it's not the odds of it being the same red as your jacket, very, very slim if you're using some other gear tape. And with anything, well, a good idea is a good idea and successful for a reason. So how do you stop people from not just going and doing this themselves? How do you protect NoSo? What is patented specifically so that you don't have to worry about someone coming along and maybe not doing a great job, right? Using lesser material or not having the sustainability in mind.
Yeah, so NoSo, we have a lot of IP, so they call it like a IP family, right? You're trying to make a portfolio to protect the product because, yeah, it is unique and it's never been done before. Yes, there's tape out there, but that's vinyl substrate, so
Mm.
it's not as eco-friendly as what we're doing. A lot of our fabrics are PFAS free. Actually, now all of them are PFAS free. Some of the dead stock stuff, it's hard to tell because you get your fabric from jobbers. But yeah, on the patent side, we have 2 patents and 2 patents pending. If we see we've been around for 9 years and there probably will start to creep in some competitors, I'm guessing, because yeah, just people aren't authentic enough to come up with their own ideas, which
Mhm.
whatever. That sucks for them. But
Yeah.
all the greats.
Mhm. Exactly. That's what I'm saying is like great ideas are great ideas and people just like jump on the bandwagon. They're like, this has made money. I want to make money. So I'm just going to do that too.
Yeah, but like, the thing is, like, we work with so many different awesome brands in the industry. We have this like DIY, like, cult following of fixers. And I think if there were knockoffs to come out, our community would just do it right, like
Mhm.
for us, and we wouldn't have to do anything. But if we do see stuff pop up, I have a patent attorney and I have a trademark attorney, and we just send cease and desist as needed. And then, yeah, we have trademarks. So I've come up with phrases like Patch the Planet, Puffy Patch, Patch Dazzle, Add Flair or Repair. So there's some things that nobody can say because we've trademarked them. We have the X shape, so that's trademarked, so no one can cut that shape. We've seen some people try to cut that shape, and we just send them a cease and desist. But yeah, I think I'm not a litigious person, and it's just really unfortunate that people
Mhm.
would copy a female-founded company that has worked very, very hard to get where we are today.
Yeah.
But it's naive of me to think that they would respect us too.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the world that we live in is not a collaborative one always, but the one
Mhm.
that I live in is. So, um,
Yes, and well,
you
that's
know
important.
yeah, so I've met the sustainability director of Burton Snowboards, Arc'teryx, and the North Face, and all these awesome people that work with NoSo. That is where the impact is. I've always wanted NoSo to be the brand that makes everyone kind of come together for this greater good. I've worked so hard to help every single one of these companies, whether it's in the outdoor industry or the hook and bullet industry. We do so much work in the hunting and fishing industry. We've matched camouflage patterns for like
Oh,
Kuiu and Cryptic and doing all that R&D for these companies to elevate their responsibilities or conservation initiatives or whatever they're doing on their front. We want to be a part of that, right? So I've always taken that strategies of working together for a better planet. And as I learn more, I teach other people, and I hope if they learn something, they teach me too. But yeah, I don't know what to say about competitors entering this space. I just think it's pretty unfortunate.
yeah, and I mean, people have to deal with that when, like I said, when it's a good idea, someone's gonna come along and make something similar or as similar as possible because they see that it's catching on. Obviously, there's steam behind it, and they want to be a part of something and try to create their own or put their own spin on it. I don't know what other kind of spin anyone could put on, what you have going besides just doing exactly what you're doing. But, you spoke about collaboration. Obviously, we've talked about what you've done with Dovetail. You've had probably can't even name all the collaborations you've done, but I know you have a few in the pipeline or newer, like the Lisa Congdon recent release with her designs and the Free People. To me, that sounds so huge because from what I know of you and NoSo and living in the outdoor space, whether that's outdoor human powered industry or hook and bullet, it seems like getting into something like Free People can reach just a whole new kind of audience where maybe sustainability hasn't quite been the forefront of them because that's not what a lot of those brands are talking about in their marketing or focus. So it feels like that's a huge collaboration.
Yeah, no, I like the free people stuff. Yeah, we are taking the idea, this idea of extending the life of your gear and keeping items in use to these different companies that might have not ever thought about it before. And hopefully we can continue to grow these relationships and do activations or educational, Instagram posts or whatever it is alongside of these bigger brands to then, vibrate and bring that message to the masses.
Mhm.
I've always said, like, if a critical mass of people start patching their gear instead of replacing it, that's where the impact is. I don't care, if you're fixing your stuff with tape or if you're fixing your stuff with NoSo or if you're sewing it back together. That to me is a NoSo person through and through. So educating people about how to do this stuff is part of what we have to do. Well, everyone has to do it. So when you learn something, teach those skills. So the next generation understands that, okay, buy good stuff, keep it going. And hopefully, as companies like Free People continue to evolve in their own evolution, their product design and development, they're going to probably be sourcing different materials and stuff. So they'll be more sustainable and more responsible with their choices as they continue to grow. So yeah, I think it's like everyone, if you look at life in a circular way, everything has an impact. And I always talk to my team in this way, like, don't think that this is NoSo's just doing this thing. It's everybody doing this
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
We're part of this eco wave of consciousness. We've been riding this wave all along, and it's a collective. It's
Mhm.
everybody's doing this. Everybody's learning. Everyone's trying to do the best that they can do.
Yeah, and you only know what you know. You gotta keep learning and do what you can. I'm curious if, you've seen more of an uptick in recent years as far as working with brands. So Did you have hard time getting any brand backing or collaborations at first where people were like, wait, do we want people to patch their gear because then they won't buy a new jacket? Like, was that difficult? And have you seen that conversation switch now because sustainability is so front of mind and just our world in general that I know a lot of brands are very much so backing these efforts and not just all about the sales, but we know to stay alive, they need to sell stuff. So how do they do that if people aren't buying gear?
The movement, the repair movement, we were on the, front end of it, and we would go to shows, and I was teaching the consumers, but also I was, like, hitting up manufacturers as well, trying to talk to sustainability managers if they had one at the time. Not a lot of the companies did, or product developers and designers, but people would come over to the booth, or I would meet them at a networking event, whoever it might have been, and they were like, "Oh, it's a good concept, but I'd never put that on my gear. I would never buy that because that shows that my product is inferior to everything else on the market. So why would I say, yes, this is going to break, or yes, this is going to tear, or yes, this is going to, have a baffle blowout in the trees when I'm skiing?" But I just stuck with it. It was pretty hard in the beginning because we were solving the consumer's problem, but we were also changing consumer behavior, which is a
Mhm.
very, very hard thing to do. Changing consumer behavior is like one of the hardest things that you can do, and we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're making it fun to repair things. You can like say, you should do this, right? You could be like, you guys need to do this, and these are the reasons why. Or you can say, look at us over here. We're like fixing it up. Look how cute this is. And that's
Yes.
kind of the approach that NoSo's always taken. We've always said add flair or repair to keep that playful and fun. I think if you inspire people to keep it going longer, they're just going to do it because they're like,
Yeah.
this is fun.
Absolutely. I think we all know that the conversation has come more forefront in recent years with everybody in sustainability and things. So it's just understandable that, yeah, it may have been hard in the beginning, but just by sticking through it with your tenacity and holding true to your own values and mission behind NoSo, that you're still here. And now, when everybody is like, oh, yeah, let's collaborate with NoSo, you're still there and thriving from what I see at least and feel. So I hope that's true to what's actually happening with NoSo. And I love the catchphrase or tagline of like add flair or repair. So it's like you don't have to have that tear in your jacket to just want to make it your personality because how many black puffies are out there, right? You want the black one, but maybe you want a little bit of something to it. So yeah, add a no-so patch and your Dazzit domes now too, like just another way to add some flair and create something that's very uniquely you because, well, that also is a little bit hard to do in this day and age, right? Before we get out of here, I just want to know if there are any other upcoming collaborations or anything else you want to share with the audience or where to find NoSo, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, we just launched our collaboration with Patagonia. So that just hit the newsstands. We're going to be doing a collaboration with an artist poet. Her name's Ray Ripple. So that's in collaboration with Dovetail again. So that'll be mid July, which will be really fun. And then we have some really fun back to school stuff happening. Our birthday is in August. So we'll be having a big sale to celebrate that. We always have a big sale early August. So yeah, there's a lot of fun things happening. We're also hiring. We're growing again. And I'm going to probably be taking a little bit of a step back in some of the things. So yeah, if you know anyone that is in marketing or in events, check out our website, job description posted there. But yeah, if you guys want to check us out, we're at nosopatches.com and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. And I think we're on TikTok too now
Ooh.
at NoSo Patches. So NOSO, no sewing. It's a pun, a play on words. And you can follow us and yeah, send us any gear pics that you have of anything you've created. We love seeing before and after pics. We love seeing the flair. Anything you upcycle, just send us a shout out because we love hearing from you.
Kelly, I love what you guys are doing. It seems like you're thriving to all these collaborations and amazing things happening. Beautiful collection of patches. The can't wait to see the Ray Ripple one with Dovetail. And yeah, just to continue following what NoSo is up to. And like I said, it's on that list to get a Tearing It Up patch. So you listeners out there can also keep your eyes out for the future of that. But Kelli, thank you so much for joining me, fighting through our technical difficulties through this time and last time. I'm so excited to share your story.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping us patch the planet. And I love your podcast. And thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you so much. And thanks everybody out there for listening. Don't forget to go check out NoSo yourself, and we'll catch you all next week. We hope you enjoyed this episode and would do us a huge favor, since we don't have any sponsors or anything like that, and would rate and review us on whatever platform it is you use, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, whatever it is. And if you're listening and downloading just through the website, tearingituppodcast.com, leave comments. We'll definitely engage back with you. And on social media right now, we're just on Instagram. Tearing It Up Podcast is the handle. Like the post, share the post, comment on the post, whatever it is you got. Show us your love so we just stay relevant and show up in the rankings at all. So again, rate and review, please. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.